Hello everyone. Today we talk about Mao Zedong, political campaigns and the social upheaval in Mao's era. The Mao Zedong era between 1949 to the 1976 was a transformative yet tumultuous period in modern Chinese history. Through a series of political campaigns, the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) consolidated power and reshaped society, but at an immense human cost. Historical research and declassified archive suggest that tens of millions perished unnaturally, with over half the population enduring persecution in various forms. Those campaigns not only altered China's social fabric, but also left countless families scarred. Today we begin by examining the campaign to suppress counter-revolutionaries, land reform, the Korean War, and the 5 anti-campaign shed light on the complex history of this era. First, campaign to suppress counter-revolutionaries, killing by the quarter following. The establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, the CCP launched the campaigns to suppress counter-revolutionaries between 1950 to the 1953 to eliminate the perceived threats to the new regime, targeting bandits, remnant of the nationalist force, which is Kuomintang, spies, local terrorists, and members of reactionary Sikh. The Central Committee issued directive in March 1950 to harshly suppress such groups. Initially, leaders like Liu Shaoqi advocated leniency for those who surrendered, proposing lighter treatment even for those with a significant crime. However, Mao Zedong rejected this approach, insisted that individuals with a major blood debt should face execution and sitting killing quota for various regions. For instance, in the 1951, Mao suggested that Shanghai, a city of 6 million, should execute at least 3,000 bandit leaders, habitual bandits, terrorist spies, and sea leader, with 1,500 to be killed in the first half of the year. The Central Committee further decided to execute the counter-revolutionaries at a rate of 1 per thousand of the population. With China's population at approximately 550 million, this meant at least 275,000 executions in practice. Many areas exceeded those quotas to meet targets. According to a 1954 report by Xi Zhirong, Deputy Minister of Public Security, the campaign led to the arrest of 2.62 million people, with 712,000 executed, 1.31 per thousand of the population, 1.29 million sentenced to labor reform, 1.2 million placed under the surveillance, and 380,000 released after education. Historian Yang Hui-Sang argues that due to underreporting in some regions, the actual number of executions likely far exceeded 712,000. The campaign not only neutralized threats but also generated a widespread wrongful conviction. The policy of killing by quota enslaved merely innocents, installing fears across society, and setting a precedent for the repressive tones of a future campaign. Second, land reform. The end of the landlord class parallel to the Suppression campaign. The CCP implemented land reform between 1950 to 1953 in royal era to dismantle the landlord class, redistribute land and establish control over peasants. In June 1950, the land reform law was enacted, making the start of the nationwide movement. Mao emphasized that the reform could not be a peaceful gift, but required peasants to seize land through struggle. To this end, CCP work teams were dispatched to village, classifying peoples by class status and inciting landless peasants to confront landlords and rich peasants. Nationwide, at least 20 million people were labeled as landlords. Rich peasants, counter-revolutionaries, or bad elements stripped of civil rights and relegated to the status of a social outcast. Landlords were further categorized as tyrants, benevolent landlords, or non-tyrants, with tyrants typically facing execution. The campaign targeted 8 to 10% of a royal household. American historian John King, Fairbank establishment estimate that 1 to 2 million landlords perished. Scholar Xin Hao Liu argued that at least 2 million landlords were killed, with 30 million present subject to criticism, struggle session, or torture. Some estimates suggest up to 4.5 million deaths. Land reform not only confiscated landlords' property, but also shattered royal traditions. Many landlord families were destroyed, and present rivalries fueled social diversion. In Gansu, for example, a few peasants who assaulted a local cadre were branded counter-revolutionaries, with several executed highlighting the campaign's extremism. 3. So, the Korean War. The cost of millions' lives. The outbreak of the Korean War in the 1950s saw the CCP deploy the People's Volunteer Army under the banners of a resistant American and aiding Korea. The war served not only geopolitical aims, but also Mao's domestic agenda of purging dissenters. Many troops, including surrendered nationalist soldiers, were sent to the front as an expendable force. The war's brutalities, compounded by harsh conditions, result in staggering losses. Estimates of Chinese casualties vary widely. Official Xinhua reports initially cited 156,600 deaths, later revised to 171,700, and then 183,000. A document summary of Korean War medical experience records a total loss of 978,122 personnel, with only 372,000 of the 1.35 million deployed returning. Solver declassified files estimate 1 million deaths, where U.S. figure said 900,044 killed and 4,471 missing. Regardless of the exact number, Nearly 1 million Chinese soldiers perished. The war drained national resources and intensified domestic hardship. The United Nations condemned China as an aggressor in 1951 and imposed an embargo, isolating the CCP regime. Mao's use of the war to consolidate power come at the expense of countless lives and grieving families. Then 5 anti-campaign. The nightmare of the urban capitalism where land reform targeted. Royal elite. The 5 anti-campaign, 1952, aimed at urban capitalism, accusing them of bribery, tax evasion, theft of state property, cutting quotas, and staying the economic intelligence. Launched in the major cities, particularly Shanghai. The campaign sought to eradicate the bourgeoisie. Capitalists were summoned day and night to confess, often facing kangaroo courts and forced to surrender assets. In Shanghai, stories circulated of streets avoided due to capitalism jumping to their deaths from building. The owner of the famous Guanshen Yuan Wan, Shi Guanshen, was among those who took his own life. It was said that jumping was preferred over drowning in the Huangpu River, as a visible corpse spare families further persecution. Official record note that the border 3 anti and 5 anti campaign lead to over 323,100 arrested and 280 suicides or disappearance. Though the true toll is likely higher, the 5 anti campaign obliterated the urban bourgeoisie, abolished private ownership, and nationalized commons. It was not merely economical restructuring, but a ruthless assault on the human dignities. So this is the first part. We talk about Mao Zedong. We'll continue to talk about it in the second part. Thank you.